What's up, guys? So in this video, I'm going to cover my top 5 best and top 5 worst picks of the first round of the 2020 draft. Now, mind you, when I'm listing these guys from 1 to 5, there's really no exact order, mostly, of how good or how they rank on the best and worst list, I guess you could say. They're just in general my 5 favorite and 5 least favorite picks that I saw of the guys so far drafted. So to start with the 5 best picks, first player I'm going to mention is Isaiah Simmons. Now, who went to the Cardinals? For me, I think the Cardinals got a steal with this guy. I'm so surprised that the Panthers passed up on him. The Giants, I was somewhat expecting, but I definitely agreed with them going offensive line. But Isaiah Simmons, he was probably the best player available. And he's so versatile. I mean, you've seen, obviously, from how you've seen so far of, this draft. I mean, played safety, linebacker. He rushed off the edge at Clemson. He played so many positions. 6'4", 238. 4.39 speed, 39-inch vertical jump, great broad jump. I mean, this is stuff we all knew about Isaiah Simmons. He's athletic, he has great size, and he can play multiple positions on the field, so you really can put him wherever you need him. Now, you could possibly argue that he doesn't necessarily have an exact position, which could hurt, when it comes to how you value him, especially based on if he's a safety or a linebacker or an edge rusher. But to be honest, I could see him getting used, kind of like, I could see him really getting used at any of those spots, similar to how he was used in Clemson. I do think that since he was drafted by the Cardinals, that they definitely have an idea of where they want him and how they're going to utilize him, because this is a guy that you kind of have to have a plan with to be able to fully utilize him to his fullest potential. I think, especially after seeing how good Minkah Fitzpatrick did with the Steelers this year, I think that definitely gave extra value towards someone like Isaiah Simmons, who really provides that versatility, because it could show to you that he can really be used to be the anchor on your defense. And I mean, when you have him, and assuming when he's a linebacker, you have him and Christian Jones, and as the edge linebacking area in general, I mean, you can't go wrong with that. While you could argue that they could have used, obviously, defensive tackle going with Derrick Brown, I personally think you can't pass up on Isaiah Simmons' talent, and I think they made a great choice in picking him, especially when you were obviously enticed by having Wirfs, Wills, Becton on the board, and Jeudy or Lamb, especially when your receiving core you could improve, and obviously your line you could improve, which was terrible. But I definitely think they made a good pick with Isaiah Simmons, and I think the right pick, seeing as you can't, disregard the potential and skill that this guy has. The next pick that I have listed here is CeeDee Lamb for the Cowboys. Now, this pick, as someone who dislikes the Giants, this was great to see. That's one of the things that actually helps the Cowboys is that a rival doesn't get to have him. The Eagles were picking 4 or 5 picks later, and they weren't able to secure CeeDee Lamb or Jerry Jeudy, for that matter. So, I mean, CeeDee Lamb, there's not much to say about CeeDee Lamb. Great talent, not as, when you're comparing him to Jeudy, he's not as good as a route runner, but he's so athletic. He can do great things after the catch. Both of them will be great receivers. CeeDee Lamb is definitely a wide receiver one. I mean, there's people that have been comparing him to Chad Johnson, and him with Amari Cooper next to each other, with Michael Gallup as your third receiver. I mean, they are probably in the running for probably having the best receiver core in the league after this pick, and he just fell into their laps with how the receivers fell in this draft. And like I said, one of the best picks, just value-wise, because he was easily best player available for where they drafted, and so even though they pass up on helping their defense, of helping their defense, you can't pass up on a guy like CeeDee Lamb. Next, I couldn't pick one between the two of them because I kind of liked both picks, but both of the Jags picks, so it's K'Lavon Chaisson and CJ Henderson, both at 9 and 17, I think, if I'm not mistaken. To be honest, first point, both are both are good replacements for the two guys that they're going to be losing, which is Yannick Ngakoue and then Jalen Ramsey earlier in this offseason. So they have guys that they can develop to replace those people, because Yannick is begging to get traded, and obviously Jalen's on the team anymore. And with them trading AJ Bouye, they definitely needed a corner, so I could see them going for him at 9th, especially with how CJ Henderson was all of a sudden rushing up boards as we got in the past week. I would say he all of a sudden started jumping up into top 10, top 15 hype. And seeing how the corners went too, like I said, it makes sense. Both of them are great athletes as well. Chaison's very athletic, same thing with Henderson, and you can't go wrong with either of them. I mean, they're both going to be quality starters. Chaison is definitely more boom or bust, but I mean, with a guy who is, remind people of Aldon Smith. Aldon Smith at his best was a great rusher. And once Chaisson recovered from his injuries and he actually got to play, he definitely showed improvement in his performance. And so even though he doesn't have, like I said, a lot of the production as some other guys, I think he definitely has the athletic ability, and his tape towards the end of the year last year really showed that he could be an impact player. And I really like both the picks that the Jags did for this first round. Next, we have Tristan Wirfs for the Bucks. Now, if you see my last video, I wasn't huge in my support of the Becton pick, especially, like I said, with Wirfs on the board. I do think that he was the better tackle between the two, and a lot of people had him between second and third best tackle in this draft. It's a great spot because they need, with them having Tom Brady, they roughly have at most 2 years to be able to try to contend or even win a Super Bowl for Brady. And one of their weaknesses overall was tackle. I mean, they have Ali Marpet, Donovan Smith, so they had some guys, but they needed to improve the line in general. Because, like I said, with the Patriots, Brady always had a good line behind him, so they really needed to, with all the weapons they had, with adding Gronk, having Howard and Evans and Godwin, they really needed to improve the line to really fill out their whole entire offense, and you can't go wrong with Tristan Wirfs. Like I said in my last video, athletic, an athletic tackle. He's going to be definitely a solid starter. He can play tackle or guard, so either way, even if he doesn't work out as a tackle, you can definitely get a star guard, which, is definitely a good pick for them. He might struggle with consistency to start off, but still, I mean, potential-wise, is a great offensive lineman and something that they really needed for having Brady as their quarterback. Lastly, of the best 5 picks, we have Javon Kinlaw, who got drafted to the 49ers. This was not surprising. It was either going to be him or a receiver after seeing them trade Buckner for this pick from the Colts. They were able to replace Buckner, which is definitely big because they don't have to pay him with having Garoppolo's contract. They just paid Eric Armstead. They're going to have other contracts coming up, and so to be able to normally establish yourself and keep yourself as a good team for years to come, you definitely need guys like a Javon Kinlaw, good prospects, young guys at certain positions. And with DT not being a huge value position, it's definitely one where you want to get cheaper at. So having Buckner, they wouldn't have been able to keep everybody, and he was just the odd man out when it came to their, who they were to keep and get rid of. His physicals are crazy, great strength, crazy bull rusher. Boomer bust prospect, more like, to be honest, because he could be great with that power that he provides, or if he sticks too much to that and doesn't improve, he could be stuck as a guy who, has the physicals but never turned it into anything. But with having those other guys on the line, like Nick Bosa and Eric Armstead, that definitely helps in him being able to succeed there with the 49ers, and being able to acquire a fourth for being able to trade down the 2 picks and still get the guy they wanted. I think it was a great move by them and John Lynch. And I know they used that, if I'm not mistaken, to get Brandon Ayuk, but still, I think Javon Kinlaw was, again, a great pick by the 49ers. And it gives reason as to why they would skip over getting a receiver, with not only the depth of receiver in this year's draft, but also with the one thing that their bread and butter was their defense, and that's how they made it to the Super Bowl, and they're going to keep going with that, but while also cheapening the cost it takes to be able to keep that kind of talent. And that's going to round out our top 5 best picks of the first round. I was going to make the 5 best and worst together, but for the sake of time, I'm actually going to separate them into 2 videos. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Like and subscribe, obviously, of course, and all that usual stuff. And besides that, I'm out.